Though I have to admit, my own personal enjoyment of this cartoon comes from the fact that, well, you know how Hitler is usually portrayed as being really over the top in his film portrayals? Well, they don't hold a candle to how he acts in this cartoon.
Pumpernickel mit Sauerkraut vom Delikatessen mit Leberwurst, Hassenpfeffer und der Chattanooga Choo-Choo. Gesundheit!
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but best Hitler ever. And now it's time for us to move away from the more mainstream Nazi propaganda cartoons and turn our attention to something that even people in the theaters during this time didn't get to see, mostly because they were made specifically for the troops. It was a series of 26 cartoons referred to as the Private Snafu series that were meant to train the troops and teach them valuable lessons about what not to do while in the army. Now, Snafu is actually, it means something. It actually stands for Situation Normal, All Up. Now, the cartoons were only about half as long as a typical Warner Brothers cartoon, ranging from about 3 to 4 minutes in length, and usually featured the titular character of Private Snafu, a rather inept and lazy soldier, during his life in the army. Usually, it would end with him getting blown up or hurt in some humorous way because he failed to take his training seriously, or something along those lines. Now, it should be noted that many of the men who were joining the army at this time were very young, usually 18 to 20, and some of them had not even graduated high school yet. Now, as such, the cartoons needed to be able to speak to them in a way that would get their attention, and, well, since there was no censoring of these cartoons since they were made for the army, yeah, there was a whole lot of nudity and adult humor in this, which the studio could not have gotten away with if it was a theatrical cartoon. But since it was for an army of all male people, well, what the hey, we're going to throw in as much as we can. Minor cursing, full frontal nudity, and some very adult humor that would have not been in any Bugs Bunny cartoon. And now it's time for a really fun fact. You want to know who helped write many of the Private Snafu cartoons? Go on, guess. You'll never guess. Dr. freaking Seuss. That's right, one of the most beloved children's book authors ever helped write the Private Snafu series. As bizarre as that sounds, it's actually not that hard to imagine Dr. Seuss writing this stuff, especially when you listen to the characters speak. Many of the cartoons are written in rhyme and meter, which is actually very similar to how a Dr. Seuss book would read.
Police in the camp all the trouble it's mine. You get through with this, then they stand you in line.
Actually, come to think of it, many of the strange characters who show up in these cartoons could actually be Dr. Seuss characters. Many of them do remind me of creatures that would show up in his books, like the Technical Fairy First Class, or the Goldbrick Fairy, or even Malaria Mike. And yes, this character's name is actually Malaria Mike.
Now for the soft underbelly of Snafu.
But like I said before, many of these cartoons do not have happy endings, as they were mostly cautionary tales to other soldiers to take their training seriously, otherwise they could really end up getting killed out there. And most of these cartoons ended with Snafu getting destroyed in some way, and of course they took some friendly shots at their enemies, like every other cartoon.
Here rise there go brick, I now go find more. If find enough gore brick, Japan could win war. Gore brick.
But in terms of stereotyping, there is one cartoon that trumps even the Snafu cartoons. It is one that has become so infamous that Warner Brothers has done its best to deny its very existence. Now, before we continue, I will make the disclaimer that I am not encouraging stereotyping. I don't believe in it. And those stereotypes are wrong now just as they were wrong then. But keep in mind these cartoons were made in a different time and we were in a very serious war. And pretty much every country was doing the exact same thing. It is a cartoon that has gained internet infamy and has some of the worst Japanese stereotyping ever, and I think its title pretty much speaks for itself. Bugs Bunny Nips the Nips. Now, this particular cartoon was actually considered so offensive that it has never, since its first showing in theaters, ever received another release. It was never shown on TV, never released on VHS. You can't even find this thing on DVD, even though it is one of the few Bugs Bunny cartoons that has ever fallen into the public domain. Except for the major stereotyping in it, it actually is not that much different than Her Meets Hare in its themes, except instead of making fun of Nazis this time, we're just poking fun at the entire Japanese military and, by extension, Japanese people as a whole. The basic plot involves Bugs Bunny washing ashore on a tropical island without knowledge that it is actually Japanese soil. He finds out quickly enough and is quickly discovered by a Japanese soldier, and from there, the entire Japanese army starts coming after him. I have no comment. Really, it's very hard for me to make any comments beyond the extreme level of stereotyping that's going on here because, aside from his opponent, as I've said before, this is a pretty standard Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's just defending himself against people who are trying to hurt him. And quite honestly, it does go beyond that though, because most of Bugs' opponents at least get 2 or 3 good hits in on him, but here, the Japanese soldiers are shown as the most inept people in the world because they only get 1 hit in. The only character who really gives Bugs any sort of trouble is this stereotypically fat and dopey sumo wrestler guy, and Bugs just turns right around and defeats him by... Oh Lord. It's just not a Bugs Bunny cartoon until somebody ends up in drag, is it? Bugs then goes on to defeat the entire Japanese military, I kid you not, by driving an ice cream truck around and selling them ice cream with grenades hidden in them. Yeah.
Well, that's that.
Indeed it is, Bugs. Indeed it is. This concludes my look at the wartime Warner Brothers cartoons, and while I know there were quite a few more that I could have looked at, these were the ones that stuck out the most to me. And I know that there were a lot of other cartoons made around this era that didn't directly involve the war, but alluded to it in some way. Now, like I said before, many of these cartoons are available on the 5th and 6th volumes of the Looney Tunes Golden Collection, and some of them, like the Private Snafu videos, or the last Bugs Bunny cartoon that I talked about, are pretty much all over YouTube and very easy to find. So I hope you all enjoyed this look back and this pilot for the new segment. Let me know what you think, and I promise that future reviews will be a bit more structured. After all, it's a lot easier to review one entire show than it is a series of 8-minute shorts. So next time, we're not going to look at more cartoons. I think we're going to turn off the TVs for a while and take a look at the written word again. Until then, I'll see you all next time. Have a good weekend or weekday, whatever time you're watching this. Just have a good time. Bye.
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
Sieg Heil, boy! I'm from South Germany.